is April 18th, 2024. We do not have the meeting minutes from last time, so we're going to skip over that. We'll move on to the agenda item and read that first and then ask for ex parte.
Yes, announce the agenda item first.
Agenda item we have on here for new business is the Ranch PUD zoning and master site plan, number S239-04. Is quasi judicial. And has anybody had any ex parte with the?
I have not had any ex parte communications, other than I did get a few emails from members of the community that were concerned about this. And I forwarded them on to the
Okay, all right, gotcha.
It is.
Yes, Nikki, I don't think your microphone is on, honestly.
Do I need to hear? Is this better?
Yeah,
That looks really pretty, by the way. This is a good look.
I'm sorry, I just sound like
All right.
Are you on to me?
Yes, I'm on to you.
Okay, I spoke,
Not that way. You're next.
I understand. I spoke to staff and a few members of the public.
And I actually visited Tyson at his office to look at the plans and what they were doing for going forward.
Okay.
But that was prior to the last meeting.
That's okay. Any ex parte communications on this project at all?
No.
Oh.
Need to answer. That's why I'm looking at you. All right. We do not have any interveners at this time. So anybody who is stepping forward as a witness, can you please stand so you can be sworn in?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce not Peter, but Paul Schilling to make the staff presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good evening, members of the local planning agency. Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director for the record. So this is an application for a PUD zoning agreement. It is a master site plan and phasing plan for the ranch project, formerly known as Colusa Creek Ranch. The application was requested by Urban Design Studios and Tyson Waters on behalf of JWA Ranch, LLC. The project is to be consistent with the rural lifestyle land use and associated comp plan text amendments, which are scheduled for the BCC, Board of County Commissioners, at an April 30th hearing. So location map of the property, you will note the scale of the property. It is approximately 3,900 acres, 6 square miles. It encompasses both sides of Canner Highway, and relative to Canner Highway and south of Bridge Road, approximately 3.25 miles west of the interchange. The site is adjacent to the Three Lakes project to the north, and and south, let's see.
Balmoral.
I'm sorry, I got sidetracked here. Property is undeveloped. Has been used for cattle grazing and landscape nursery production over the years. The site does in fact have wetland habitat that is going to be encompassed in a native upland habitat with an accompanying preserve area management plan, which will be done as part of the final site plans. This is just an aerial image of the property. So page one of, this is a 10-page master plan, as you can imagine, just based on the scale. The data on the site plan shows approximately 3,902 acres. It's proposed to be developed with approximately 92% open space, with a density of approximately 0.04 units per acre, which equates to 175 units, residential units on approximately 6 square miles, as I mentioned. This is just another version of the plan, more comprehensive as fact. The data on the site plan also encompasses 2 golf courses proposed along with the amenity centers, clubhouse, driving range, teaching facility for the golf professionals, maintenance facilities, and supporting infrastructure. Approximately 1,200 acres of this property are going to be kept as agricultural use for cattle grazing. The entire plan is based on the 3,900 acres. So the site is proposed to be developed in 3 phases. Phase 1 will be the majority of the golf course infrastructure. The Phase 2 would have the residential development, and Phase 3 would be the docking facility to the north along the C-22, the Okeechobee Waterway, and recreational amenities and so forth and so on. So the preserve areas, as I mentioned, will be implemented at the final site plan stage. All of the upland habitat and preserve areas are on master plan. A tree clearing and mitigation program will be instituted as outlined in the PUD agreement. So the public benefits, as you can imagine, with a project of this scale and associated facilities, these are the public benefits, and you have been provided, I believe, at some point with a copy of the planned unit development zoning agreement. So redesign and reconstruct South Fork High School short course. The applicant will get into much more detail with this, I'm hopeful, this evening. But provide educational and mentoring opportunities for the ranch at the turf grass management. So a $50,000 contribution to the Banner Lake restoration and cleanup with restoring natural flow of the groundwater. And then of utmost importance as well as, and we do not see public benefits proposed on this scale generally. Provide 20 acres of land for the University of Florida Institute in Food and Agricultural Sciences, and to contribute up to $50,000 toward the engineering planning costs with a co-op extension. So that is a very, very unique public benefit, certainly. So the development review staff have found the application to compliance with all the regulations with the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan as detailed in the staff report, which you have been provided as part of this agenda item. So the staff recommends approval of the PUD zoning agreement. I can answer any questions you may have, and that concludes my presentation momentarily.
Gentlemen?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Has the zoning received state approval yet?
The text amendment and the future land use map are scheduled for the Board of County Commissioners on April 30th, as I indicated. The subject of tonight's hearing is this planned unit development zoning agreement. So the step would be that the application is heard by the local planning agency with a recommendation, and then the PUD zoning agreement, as discussed tonight, will accompany the text and future land use adoption hearings, which are scheduled for April 30.
Has the South Florida Water Management District given its approval yet?
That is my understanding, yes, sir.
They have.
Yes, sir.
When did that happen?
I can't say for certain. The applicant could probably tell you.
Okay. Was the marina ever approved?
The marina is part of this final master site plan. That's the subject of tonight's hearing, and ultimately there will be future final site plans, which will have all the construction documentation and civil plans associated with those improvements.
When might we be able to review the PAMP that's supposed to go along with this PUD agreement?
PAMPs usually travel with the final
Final
site
site.
plans and aren't normally attached to PUD agreements. Sometimes they are, but usually it's in the final site plan stage. Elise Elder, Deputy County Attorney for the record.
So I read that they're going to contribute $50,000 to Banner Lake. Is that part of what Pine School is doing over there to fix what's going on, to make Banner Lake a real lake again?
That's part of that overall effort, yes, sir. That's my understanding.
And two, the tunnel that is going underneath Canner Highway is being paid for privately, correct? Not through any government money or grants?
That's correct. It's privately funded.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Rick? Sir?
How many units could this hold without this PUD agreement if they did it by right?
I believe it was about 2 or 3 more, so
He means housing units.
yes. So
Well, if we got 4,000 divided by 20,
right.
200 more.
Well, there's 175 proposed, so, yeah.
And it'd be carved up.
25.
It'd have to be
Yeah.
carved up into
Mm-hmm.
28.
25 more.
That's correct. That's a good point. As part of this PUD master plan, there are lot sizes which are not 20 acres, of course. That is the purpose of this PUD, which is to cluster those lots, if you will, into pods and with smaller lot sizes, which enables the preserve areas to be captured holistically and not be on individual lots as we have in some of the subdivisions in Martin County.
If we put a 20-acre ranchette out there, they could graze the whole thing, or they could mow the whole thing, or they could do whatever they wanted to do with it, pretty much.
One at a time.
There are subdivisions in Martin County which are 20 acres, which have individual PAMPs that are the responsibility of the individual property owners, which are, as you can imagine, difficult to not only maintain, but also conduct enforcement activities.
20 acres, it's ag,
Yes, sir.
so it's different than a 5-acre lot.
Both would have a preserve area management plan for wetland and upland habitat, if I understand your question. Correct. There's several hundred acres of preserve area here.
Okay.
Nope. Before you start, I wanted to say that I did meet with the applicant. I apologize.
To disclose your ex parte?
Yeah, my ex parte. Applicant?
Tyson is standing.
Me? Or you? Oh, I thought I got in trouble for the mic.
Tyson Water for the applicant.
Do I introduce him? He'll introduce himself. I mean, I know him, but
Yeah, just.
Good evening, Tyson Waters from the law firm of Fox McCluskey here on behalf of the applicant. First, we want to thank staff for its presentation and all its efforts during this process. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So as staff mentioned, this project or this site was in front of you a few months ago as part of a text amendment and future land use amendment. And now finally, we're in front of you with the plan unit development agreement and master site plan. So we're very excited to be here tonight and to present this vision and this project for you. Again, a little bit of history. About 20 years ago, for the past 20 years, the Barney family has owned this property with a mind of environmental preservation and conservation as part of its cattle operation. In 2010, the Barney family, together with Martin County and the South Florida Water Management District, amended the land use for the site to change it from agricultural to agricultural ranchette, and also did a text amendment to allow up to 600 homes on approximately 1,400 acres, with the balance being in conservation. Due to a variety of reasons, ultimately that development plan did not work out, so the Barneys came back to the board and asked for it to be, the land use to be changed back to agricultural and to have the text amendment repealed. And since then, again, they've continued to conserve and operate on the land. Within the past few years, the Barney's family decided to move on, so they started looking for a subsequent owner of the property with the mindset of making sure that owner had the similar mentality of a priority of conservation and preservation of the land as part of whatever project was to proceed on this site. And with that, they found the Basque family, Ken and Suzanne Basque, who had that similar mindset of conservation and preservation. And Mr. Basque has demonstrated that mentality and that goal and objective with his golf club, Friars Head Golf Club in Riverhead, New York. And as we move forward with this PUD and this site plan, that goal and that focus is evident as we preserve an open space more than 90% of the site. Over 1,200 acres are going to remain in agricultural use, and over 660 acres of wetlands will be preserved. And so what we're here for approval tonight, or recommendation of approval, is that plan unit development agreement and the master site plan. Just a little bit of history of what we've gone through. We first approached staff in the fall of 2022 to discuss this project, and over the past year and a half have continued to work both internally and with staff to develop a plan that we think is going to be a hallmark of Martin County. As staff mentioned, the zoning currently is A2. And I think it's very important to appreciate what we can do today in the agricultural land use and the A2 zoning. You see we've got residential opportunities, single-family home, mobile homes, modular homes. There's institutional uses that are allowed. There's commercial uses that are allowed, including golf courses, as well as industrial uses that can be done today under the current zoning. As it relates more to what's in front of you today and our proposed use, under the current zoning designation, the density of 1 unit per 20 acres, that's a gross density of 195 units. As Mr. Hartman pointed out, the minimum lot size is 20 acres. So those 195 units would be spread out over 3,900 acres. Golf courses, they're allowed, as well as the ancillary uses, clubhouse, maintenance facilities, those similar amenities, as well as golf courses. And of note, golf cottages. And of note, under the A2 zoning district, there's no limitation on the number of golf courses or golf cottages or the size of those golf cottages. As was pointed out earlier, there's no requirement to consolidate the wetland and upland preserves and buffer areas. So those wetlands and uplands can be part of and within an individual lot. So you start carving them up, whether they're in a PAMP together or not, they become an individual lot owner's backyard. The other requirement is that we're on well and septic. So potentially you could have 195 septic systems spread out over 3,900 acres. As previously mentioned, we have 650 acres of wetlands. We're adjacent to the St. Lucie Canal. I think we can all agree 195 septic systems would not be a good thing. And we can all do all this by right straight zoning. So what we're asking for is to proceed under a plan unit development agreement. And with that, our proposal remain gross density of 1 unit per 20 acres, and actually at 175 units, our gross density is 1 unit per 22 acres. Again, 175 units, and what this allows us to do is minimize the residential footprint, the residential impact on these 3,900 acres. So instead of developing 195 or even 175 residential units over 3,900 acres, we're able to do that over 200 acres. Golf courses, just like we're allowed under the current A2 zoning district, we've got golf courses proposed here. The only difference and nuance is, under our proposal, we are limited in the number of golf cottages and the size of those golf cottages. We maintain a very large agricultural presence, again, over 1,200 acres of continued agricultural use. All of our wetlands, uplands, the preserve areas and buffers are now required to be their own separate tracts, consolidated under a single PAMP, owned and controlled by a single entity. And again, this PUD agreement, it sets forth all of these commitments and responsibilities that we're going to be able to do and we're going to be forced to do. We're able to extend water and sewer at our cost, not the county's cost, at the developer's cost to construct and maintain. We're able to extend those sewer lines to this property. So we eliminate the requirement of those septic systems. And a big enhancement of water quality and environmental protections, which you'll hear later in this presentation. So here's the site plan. Here's what we're proposing. Again, 175 residential units, 2 golf courses, clubhouses and amenities, golf cottages, 1,200 acres of agricultural land, 648 acres of enhanced wetlands, upland preserves of 324 acres, and open space of 3,547 acres. Under the agricultural land use, you're required to have 50% open space. Under the rural lifestyle land use designation, you're required to have 70% open space. Our proposal and our plan has 91% open space. I think now as we break down to the individual uses, I think this is an important one to note. The agricultural, the 1,200 acres of agricultural land situated along Bridge Road and Canner Highway. And this is important, one, because it keeps it all contiguous and together, but two, you maintain that rural character. So once this project is developed and somebody drives down Bridge Road or Canner Highway, they're not going to see this development. The closest residential lot is over 600 feet away from Bridge Road. What they're going to see is what they see today. They're going to see landscaping. They're going to see the native habitat. They're going to see natural environment. They're going to see cattle, just like they do today. the preserve areas, over 1,200 acres of preserve areas through wetlands, wetland buffers, and uplands. Golf courses, again, clustered together to minimize any potential impact on the greater area. 3 residential pods of a total of 175 units. And then golf course and golf club amenities. And these are important elements too, these landscape buffers, enhanced landscape buffers as you drive along these corridors. So along Bridge Road, along Canner Highway, you're going to see these enhanced landscape buffers. And even internally, very large landscape buffers are going to separate the uses. So again, this very rural, lush feel, hiding a lot of the activity within the project. And with that, this project does offer a lot of environmental benefits that I'd like to have Toby Overdorf from EDC come up here and talk about.
For the record, Toby Overdorf, Engineering, Design, and Construction. I run the environmental division there, and wanted to run through some of the water quality benefits associated with this particular project. As you can see from the slide in front of you, there is a variety of things that actually I'm pretty excited about overall. First of all, enhancing the water quality runoff in the project above the minimum requirements. And how are we doing that? Well, we're actually reducing nutrient loading within the C44 and with the waters that are not only coming out of there, but what is being returned to that as well. One of the items that I'd like to talk about as well is the final bullet point on there, benefits of Martin County in achieving their TMDL requirements. This is some legislation actually that I wrote, that is part of House Bill 1379 that is not only within the sewer side of it, but also on the nutrient side and reducing that. So I think that's a very important element that is actually a direct benefit to Martin County and a requirement that Martin County has to adhere to in the next 10 years. Next, we're looking at water quantity reduction. We're all extremely aware and hyper aware of the waters coming into the St. Lucie River. This project actually will increase the amount of stormwater that's being stored on the property. The stormwater is actually a very specific TMDL that's within the St. Lucie BMAP. And we're actually going to be reducing overall the amount of stormwater going back into the St. Lucie River. And, by the way, we're also going to be taking that water in, utilizing it for a variety of purposes, whether it be irrigation or other things along those lines, and then cleaning that water before it goes back out again. The wetlands on site are being restored in such a manner that we're actually extracting a lot of the phosphorus, nitrogen, et cetera, that goes into that water, and then before it goes back out, it's being extracted in a natural process. So again, a massive benefit there, not only from the volume of stormwater, but also in the treatment of that stormwater. This gives you kind of a graphic of that and how we're bringing the water in on the northeast side, running it through, you can see through the perimeter ditches, through other areas in the property. We have large areas that are holding the water on site, running it literally, and just remember the scale of what you're looking at. This is thousands of acres that we're traversing this through. This is not a massive running river, but this is a slow process that brings this through, allows for the attenuation of that water, allows for the plant life to take it up. And oh, by the way, the plant life is continuing to be maintained as well during this whole time as well. That is also part of our not only preserve area management plan, but also the lake area management plan, which is also a requirement of the PUD. So we're going to be storing, treating, looking at that water and making sure that it's cleaned up again before it's discharged in a much less volume as it goes back out into the C44. And then looking at wetland restoration. Currently on site, there's a fair amount of exotics that are proliferated through the site. Cypress domes have lygodium that literally I'm walking on about 6 feet above the ground, and it's this dense mat that's out there. The applicant is taking care of all of that and is making it, having it all removed. That is also, the other part of the augmentation is the filling in of a lot of these on-site irrigation ditches that cross back and forth that were installed legally, but now we're going to be looking at different purposes on the site, and now we're going ahead and filling some of those in, so that then doesn't convey the water away from the wetland. Instead, the water stays inside the wetland. That's enhanced. Some of the prairie wetlands that are out there actually are just fixing to really take off, and we're excited about that opportunity too. And oh, by the way, now also there's going to be a 50-foot buffer associated with a lot of these wetlands, except where it's interfacing with Gulf. And of course, we're enhancing those buffers from there. So we have as much as 100-foot buffers in some areas, and that is something that we're also in compliance with Martin County requirements on that. The other thing I want to just quickly touch on, I know I'm taking some time here, is that hydrological benefit in those hydro periods. By storing the water on site and really making sure that we're holding that water within these wetlands, within the lake systems, it benefits not only our property, but also the surrounding properties as well. We're not doing a drawdown. We're not bringing that property back down again, bringing other items back down again. Instead, what we're actually doing is hydrating not only our piece, but also those around us. And that's been a major benefit in our discussions with the Water Management District and others. We're actually looking at a net positive rather than a negative, which is what you might see in a high-density residential or another area like that. We're actually a real positive here. And then finally, just adding on to the public benefits for habitat preservation and restoration, I really can't emphasize enough that we're keeping ag on the property. We're looking at this community farming aspect. We actually have ways where we're looking more at water conservation on the parcel. I'm just so excited about the wetland restoration, the native habitat restoration that's going to be done on the property, and really looking at the preservation of a lot of these uplands that, frankly, I mean, there's not a lot of people in this county that have seen some of these hammocks, and they're absolutely going to stay that way. In fact, they're going to be looking a lot better. So I'm real excited, as if you can't tell, about the project and the prospect of working on this. And it's a really a special place. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tyson. He's going to get into some numbers.
Thank you, Toby. So as part of our PUD application, we're required to provide an economic analysis. And so this is just a snapshot of the fiscal benefit of this project. So right now, it's agricultural land, so you're taxed at pennies on the dollar. As this project moves forward, what you'll see from this is a taxable value of $230 million. Then over the next 30 years, that number is estimated to increase to over $3 billion. So again, a sizable change from this property, from what we're looking to do. And I know Paul's mentioned this already, but in addition to all of those environmental benefits that Toby talked about, that you get because of the process we're going through, that you don't get that if we did straight zoning. You get that, the county gets it, the community gets that because of what we're doing, because of this process, because of the applicant. But on top of all of that, the applicant is further committed to do more to the community. The first thing is the Banner Lake restoration, committed up to $50,000 of in-kind service to help that restoration in order to restore the natural flow of the Banner Lake system. He's worked with the Martin County School Board to offer a program with the South Fork High School, and he's committed up to $750,000 of in-kind services to redesign, reshape, and assist with the construction of the South Florida short golf course. In addition to that, they're going to set up an educational mentoring program for the students at South Fork that are in the turf grass maintenance program, so that they have real-world, real-life experience on some of these golf courses. And they're committed to continuing to work with the school board to offer other on-site, on-the-job training, such as beef production management, culinary arts, and hospitality and tourism. In addition to that, they're developing a youth caddy program in partnership with the Western Golf Association's Evans Scholars Program. And finally, yet another notable public benefit, and something the applicant is doing, is agreeing to lease or convey 20 acres of land in order for the IFAS Co-op Extension Facility to relocate its headquarters on this site. And plus, they're going to contribute up to $50,000 to assist them in getting the design and land use plans and stuff up and running. Just among those three things, that's over $1 million in contributions of public community benefits that this applicant is willing to do. I think it's remarkable, and I don't know if the county's seen something quite like this much of a public benefit, when in reality, we're asking for 2 concessions. We're not asking for a density increase. We're asking for smaller lot sizes so our residential footprint can go from 3,900 acres down to 200 acres. And we're asking for water and sewer, instead of putting up to 195 septic systems across these 3,900 acres. That's the concession. That's what we're asking for. That's what we get from this plan unit development agreement. And in return, we're offering all these public benefits because it means something to the applicant. This property, this community means something. And I think we can all agree what we presented today is above and beyond what many, 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 if not all, projects that offer for such a small concession. And with that, I want to thank you for your time. And again, we support staff's recommendation, and we'd ask you to do the same thing and vote to recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners. And we're here for any questions if you have it.
Tyson, can you just confirm that you turned in your
Oh,
affidavit?
I'm sorry, I thought I did that at the beginning. Yes, we did turn in our affidavit of notice.
Gentlemen?
I may have some questions after the community.
You're
Public.
After public comment?
Maybe, yeah.
Bob, do you have anything for the applicant? Gentlemen?
Tyson, does the 175 dwelling units, does that include the golf cottages?
No, sir.
How many golf cottages?
I think right now we're proposing, they can be up to 36. I think right now we're estimating or contemplating 24.
So you're going to stay under the 195 total units that you could do by right?
We'd be right around that number. Again, the golf cottages aren't counted towards the density. It's because those remain under ownership of the club. They have to remain. They can't be sold off in fee simple. So those are, it's really part of the club facility.
Okay.
Excuse me, Tyson, just to follow up on that, are there going to be any dormitory housing for employees?
No, sir.
That's a good question.
Other questions? We're good? We would like to move on to public comment. And our first citizen is Carol Fitzpatrick.
Just a reminder for the public, you'll be timed and you have 3 minutes to speak to the LPA.
Hi, my name is Carol Fitzpatrick. I live at the Florida Club, and all of this behind us is in process. On all of the statements tonight, I heard no reference to the South Florida Water Management District's scathing review of the proposed future land use map amendment to change the land use designation to rural lifestyle. On that note, the marine and the golf course runoff that's going to go into the canal, who is going to oversee this to make sure that it's not dumping everything with all of the nutrients and stuff? My next thing that's a pet project of mine, with all of the new developments that are going to be coming your way, when is Bridge Road going to be widened for 2 lanes each way? January 7th, 2022, it was stated by our Schneider, the sheriff. He said it is one of the most dangerous roads in Martin County. And it's still, there's many, many deaths, and it's usually in the same area. With all of this new development, when is it going to happen? You're going to wait until everything's done and then start? Look at Cove Road. They didn't widen that before this. And what they did widen didn't depreciate any of the traffic going through. It's still piled up right almost to Federal Highway. So I hope you do something and think before you approve everything. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm calling the names as I received them, so no one get upset about the order of doing this. Greg Braun, he is the Guardians of Martin County.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Greg Braun. I'm a certified environmental professional, and I am here this evening on behalf of the Guardians of Martin County. The Guardians do support responsible development, and I'll give credit to these guys. They have put a very good project together. Unfortunately, there are still two issues that the Guardians have that are preventing us from being fully supportive of this. They both have to do with water. The first is about water quality. And thank you, Representative, for telling us about the plans to do this and do that. We hope that those projects to enhance water quality really do come about. We've been pleased to support Martin County's projects to do water quality monitoring and get grants to do various restoration projects. But we're concerned about the water quality impacts associated with putting golf courses and homes on this property. Golf courses do have the potential to do good things for water quality, but unless monitoring is done, we don't have any proof that that's actually going to take place. So far, we haven't heard of any commitment to do any water quality monitoring, and we understand that this is the time that the county could impose a requirement that that water quality monitoring be done. As they mentioned, the water from this property will be discharging into the C-44, and the South Fork is already designated as an impaired water body. The least that can be done is to go ahead and require that monitoring be done. We request that Martin County oversee that water quality monitoring project, that it be in-stream constant monitoring, and that be paid for by the applicant. A drop in the bucket in relation to the millions of dollars that the project will bring into the county. The second issue is also about water, and that is the extension of water and sewer outside the Urban Services District. I believe that all of you received a copy of the paper that the Guardians put together several months ago that talked about golf courses outside the Urban Services District. And our request at that time is the same that I'm going to ask you to do tonight. And that is to ask or to require that a conservation easement be put on those portions of the property that are not going to be otherwise encumbered through the Preserve Area Management Plan. It doesn't sound like very much. You know, they're saying that they're exceeding the minimum standard, but it adds up to a lot of property. And so our concern is that once water and sewer get to the property, it's just going to be a matter of time before a request comes in for more intensive development. That whole issue will go away if you go ahead and require that a conservation be put on the remaining properties and that one of the co-holders of that easement be some conservation group.
Thank
Thank
you.
Or two.
Can we ask a question?
To
At the end, I guess, or?
the applicant?
No,
No,
to people that speak.
Not usually. Usually it's just public comment.
We can talk afterwards, Rick, anytime.
All right, next up, we have Dina Peterson.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, I'm a resident of Martin County, have been for a long time. I feel like every time a new vote comes before the LPA or the commission, it's in favor of the developers. These are cottages for wealthy individuals. These are not going, it's going to increase traffic. It's going to increase. This is an area that the lady said, South Florida Water Management came out with a letter in January saying that this was not consistent with their water goals for this area. It's part of an area that they're trying to restore wetlands to, and this project, to say that a wetland is going to be restored, but a golf course is going to be around it, that's just not the way it should be done. It's not the natural habitat. We're changing the Martin County difference by, and the cat's out of the bag already at this point, that you've allowed the urban services boundary to be broken with this rural lifestyle amendment, but to continue to allow houses and cottages and golf courses and to be going out there, that's going to increase traffic again for wealthy people. They're saying they're giving over $1 million in gifts. That's really generous and that's really wonderful, but they wouldn't be giving $1 million in gifts if they weren't making a lot of money. And I don't think that Martin County and the board and the LPA should be making decisions based on developers making a lot of money, but what's best for Martin County residents. 20-acre ranchettes, having families out there building family farms, that is what Martin County and outside the urban services boundary has been about, is family farms and small, and grazing land for cattle, not for wealthy millionaires and billionaires to have cottages and staff and golf courses that are going to pollute the waterways. I just feel like my other issue is that I saw on one of the site plans, it listed under common habitat, it listed hammocks, oak and palm hammocks, and those are actually considered rare and endangered, and I don't really see a calculation for that. And the other thing is that there's supposed to be so much habitat restored around the golf courses, and then in addition to the 25%, but we're getting a total of 39%, but not the 25 plus 30. So I was a little bit not sure that I quite understand how those calculations were done or how that math really maths, but those would be my questions as well. But I just ask you to consider the average folk of Martin County and what's best for us, what's best for our roadways. If the developer's not paying to expand the roads, then it's just going to add to the increase of traffic and congestion that we already are inundated with. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm up. I apologize. Next up is Kayla Shea. With Trailside HOA lot owner.
Hi, I'm Kyla Shea. I'm the president of Trailside HOA. I'm also a lot owner, and I've also lived out there for 19 years. I'm concerned about a few things. First and foremost, staff assured you all that they thought the South Florida issue was worked out. I talked to South Florida today. There are 2 applications that are in a review with South Florida. They have not changed their stance on the SERP, which is a conserve area, the Conservation Everglades Restoration Project, which the ranch definitely goes into. I understand that a legal firm did issue a rebuttal to South Florida's very scathing letter. It's a good idea for the attorney to sign their name at the bottom of that letter, not just put it on a letterhead. Let's see, let's talk about some other things. We obviously, from what I've heard others say, don't want another community like Trailside. We are 20-plus acre ranchettes. Yes, we have wetlands on our individual lots. Yes, we work with South Florida Water Management every year to be under 5% of exotics, and it's not a problem at all. It's very manageable. So for anyone who says it's not, come talk to me. I'll give you our plan. Other parts that were said, we're going to lease or convey up to 20 acres for UF. That's a great project. Lease or convey. We can't give it away. We're going to lease it for how long? 22 seconds? Christ Fellowship promised the sun, the moon, and the stars. Still waiting for it. Let's really see what they're going to do. Buffer zones. Where's Trailside's buffer? They've cleared land. We're looking at bare dirt. The winds have been blowing 30 to 40 miles per hour every day. The dirt, their dirt, is in our canal. Let's stick with Martin County residents. We live here. We pay taxes here. There was a severe accident on Monday on Bridge Road. A car flipped. It took out the power lines. The car burst into flames. The person was tomahawked. In the time frame I've lived at Trailside, that's number 19 in the same section of Bridge Road. Let's do our infrastructure. Let's do our hospitals. Let's do our medical care. And let's stop letting developers tell the Martin County residents what we're going to do for them. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Geraldine, I'm going to slaughter your last name here. Dubé. Gigi, I've been told. Yeah, thank you. I apologize.
And thank you. Geraldine Janko Dubé, I did have an opportunity to study all of the things, and I honestly think this is a first-class development. From a perspective of the water management plan to the setbacks and the residential, and their promises to make donations to our community. What I have a problem with is that we have a code, and that code is very specific, and it's written to make it fair for everybody, not only for the county, for the developers and the citizens. And laws are required where our common sense and our humanity fails. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of things that didn't happen on this particular application that made it complete. And it's incomplete in the sense that we don't have a developer agreement. We don't have full disclosure on all of the owners so that we know where there's a conflict of interest. And, I mean, what if people are going to make huge donations to commissioners that are going to be voting on this? We need to know all of this. The capital improvement plan, the capital improvement schedule, which is what everybody that before me has spoken about, is the county's responsibility. We've got a breakdown of revenues based on millage that anybody could have done with a spreadsheet, but we have no idea what the capital improvement program's going to be, how it's going to affect the rest of the county. And this is cumulative. This isn't just this development, it's all of the other developments that are coming in under rural lifestyle. It's important that we have that. I feel like the county is failing us in not making sure that these things are done. And if they are being done, why aren't they out for the public to review? Doesn't somebody like Mr. Schilling have a responsibility to have that information? We need it. Because if we don't, we're going to be just like Boca Raton. And we don't want to be like that. The thing is that we want to see that not only are they paying their fair share, but they're looking at their neighbors, the people that are living here, and that we can all live together in harmony. I don't see anything that has to do with the capital improvement plan. I didn't see anything that addressed the issues that water management had. This is all part of the development review application. It should be in the application for public disclosure, and not having it denies citizens the opportunity of making comments and being educated.
Your time is up.
Thank you. I know. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have Brandon Tucker, and then after Brandon, we're going to have Jennifer Pelham.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the LPA and staff. Brandon Tucker, Executive Director of the Florida Landowners Association and 27-year resident of Martin County. First of all, I'd like to applaud our county staff and the exemplary job that this staff has done on this particular project, and all the work that the LPA and the Board of County Commissioners at this point has all the hard work that they have done to this point to get this project to this point. When we talk about the Martin County difference, this project exemplifies that. If you went to any other county, especially any county close to Martin County, and you had 4,000 acres asking for some type of a change, we would be talking about 8,000 to 12,000 residential units more than likely on a 4,000-acre ranch. But here we have a landowner that has been dedicated to actually lowering what his vested rights are as far as residential development, increasing environmental protection for this piece of property. As many of you know, that I was the former vice chair of the governing board at the South Florida Water Management District and understand those processes, how those work, how important it is that we protect the C44 in our estuary from phosphorus and nitrogen runoff and all those things. So, part of the condition of issuing an ERP permit by the Water Management District is at a minimum, you have to demonstrate that you're not going to increase any loading from the previous use. So this applicant is even demonstrating they're going to make things even better from a water quality and a water storage standpoint. So FLA, without question, supports this project. We see this as a huge, not only economic lift for Martin County, but a huge environmental lift for the area as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. All right, Jennifer Pelham, am I saying that right? Is with IFAS, extension of Martin County.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Pelham. I'm the County Extension Director and Urban Horticulture Agent with the University of Florida IFAS Extension here in Martin County. And part of our mission with the University of Florida IFAS Extension is to support our agriculture industry through research and also through education. And here in Martin County, we have over 23,000 people who are employed with the agricultural industry, which equals to be about 1/4 of all the jobs in Martin County. And this partnership, part of our current location, you probably know, is located just north of the fairgrounds, and that we're very limited in that location as far as space goes to conduct research and to conduct our programs. And this opportunity would be great to enhance and to establish new programming with the University of Florida IFAS Extension in Martin County. And we are fortunate to have met the McNicholas and the ranch team when we were looking for a new property, and we got this idea that this would be a great location for us, and I happen to agree that would be a great location. And thanks to the generosity of the Basques to providing 20 acres to support our programming, our educational efforts, which include agriculture, ranching, farming, gardening, landscaping, the Florida Yards and Neighborhoods program, and also our 4-H youth as part of the University of Florida IFAS Extension. And we look forward to this partnership in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pelham. All right, up next is Dakota Sexton. And after Dakota is going to be Joe Flanagan.
How you doing? Can you hear me? I am Dakota Sexton. I'm here tonight to hopefully give a little different perspective on the Calusa Ranch project. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 26. I've been in Martin County for 3 years now, hopefully many more years. I'm an outdoorsman. I consider myself an environmentalist, and I have a background in conservation. I've worked with various teams of scientists and a few foreign governments on the implementation of conservation easements and protected areas. With that being said, I just wanted to share with you guys that I think this project and its outlined initiatives provides a really robust and valuable template for present and future environmentally conscious developments. And I hope that value is recognized here and realized here in Martin County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sexton. Mr. Flanagan. After Joe is going to be Carol Ann Leonard.
Good evening, Joe Flanagan, Stuart, Florida, and I'd also like to thank staff for the wonderful pictures that are on the wall in the back, because I've never sat in the back, but those are some really nice things. Everyone to at least go and look at them before you leave the room. 4 numbers that I'd like to repeat. Mr. Schillings, Mr. Waters presented 3,900. That's the number of acres that are in this project. Then you have 91% is open space. That means you look down and see grass, you look up and see sky. 660 is the amount of wetlands that are out there that I understand will be put in protection and maintenance in a single PAMP. And then 1,200 acres is a ranch, a working ranch. I substituted South Fork High School sometime, and there was one of my students that said, I work on that ranch, and I'm glad that we're going to continue that. I'm also excited about the University of Florida, Go Gators, that they're going to be able to have that opportunity to put a lot of things in there to our students in the agricultural programs. And last, I was there at South Fork High School when they built that golf course, and I'm just looking forward to upgrading. I used to tee off just before I was leaving each day. All right, I'm on my way to Jensen Beach High School for their band concert, but thank you for your consideration tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Flanagan. Go Vols. Actually, I have payback. My son is going to the University of Florida, so there you go. Okay. I'm gonna have him escort me out. No? Oh, man, I'm on my own tonight. All right. Oh, you're up. I'm sorry. I was going to call your name again.
No problem.
Yeah.
My name's Carol Ann Leonard. Please do not pass this agenda item at this time. I think more information is needed by the public. As I see it, the development is not in the latest rural lifestyle allowed area, as it is more than a mile away from a USB. It should not get water and sewer. Because of that, the South Florida Water Management District concerns need to be addressed for sure. The CIE, CIS, SERP, and IRL South are all important factors that affect the people of Martin County. There are a lot of good, and the public needs to be given all the information for a thorough public discussion to be done. There are a lot of good things in this project. After listening to them, I do agree. I do want to say this. This one policy in the staff report says there may be a benefit to a developer to include incentives to encourage affordable housing. Martin County is in dire need of affordable housing for all incomes. I don't see affordable housing with residential lots, probably with large expensive homes, cottages, a golf course, and a multi-slip docking facility being planned. The ranch will be using the services of fire, rescue, sheriff, and schools, putting a burden on the existing ones. Nearby Atlantic Fields and Three Lakes Golf Club will too. All go outside the USB for water and sewer. Bridge Road is 2-lane, and the ranch states an equestrian trail will run beside it. Both are bad. The ranch PUD master site plan is very hard to read, even with the limited enlargement. I had to get a large magnifying glass to read many parts of it, and it's still hard. This needs to change. A special concern are the acres near the C-44 canal. Development could lead to pollution in the canal from runoff of stormwater from homes, golf courses with fertilizer, pesticides, and herbicides. The stormwater for a 25-year, 3-day storm event is to be held for a time prior to discharging into the dry detention swales, wet conveyance ditches, and wet ponds. But what if it is exceeded? I think it may be possible for pollution to then overflow from these areas, get into the groundwater, and perhaps the C-44. I think it may be able to leach into those areas with just regular water retention in them. There's a multiple slip docking facility on the C-44 canal. I think pollution of oil, gas, and sewage that is not pumped out for free by Martin County could definitely get into the canal and our other waters. I agree with water monitoring that was suggested by Greg Braun. The disclosure of interest affidavit needs to be accurate. We need to know who's on it and who's benefiting. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Nancy Brownie, excuse me. That's a fun last name.
Hello, thanks for your time, and thank you for the presentation. My name's Nancy Brownie. I was born and raised here. My dad was born and raised here. My grandpa was born in Fort Pierce. I love Martin County. And I thank you for everyone doing your job and taking your time. I live off Pratt Whitney, and I went to South Fork High School. And so I do like the fact that they are giving opportunities to the turf. That's awesome, and the children there. My concern is with the door that it's opening, which if I would have known what I would know now, I would have been standing up against the whole Christ Fellowship thing back then. That's what I'm afraid of. I think what they're trying to do here sounds really good. There's a few things with the water and everything that I don't understand. If they can filtrate that water, why we can't do that with Okeechobee. But it's not making sense. Like, there's got to be a way to make sure that that water is being, cleaned. But also, just with the urban, the majority of them don't live there. They don't have to experience what we're going to have to experience. They just probably get a little something extra in their pocket. So, thanks.
All right, that was our last public comment. Any other public comments? Okay, we have no interveners, so at this time, just kidding, JK, we got one.
My name's Krista, and I live in Stewart out in Tropical Farms. I've lived here for 22 years. I moved up here from Fort Lauderdale to escape that type of lifestyle that is now slowly coming this way. On every street corner, there's another HOA neighborhood, there's a gas station, there's a car wash. There's something that we do not need here. Everybody has pretty much addressed the water concern, so I'm not going to go there. But my concern is the healthcare crisis. You cannot get a doctor. You're lucky if you have a primary care doctor. You probably have to wait about 4 months to get in. On top of that, if you can even get a primary care doctor, some of them aren't even taking patients. They're not taking patients till 2026. You have to wait 4 months to get an appointment with an immunologist. You have to wait 6 months to get a mammo. God forbid you miss that appointment. You have to wait 6 more months to get a mammo. You walk into the emergency rooms, and you're lucky if you get a spot in a room, because I'm not sure if you guys ever walk into Cleveland Clinic, but there are hallways filled with stretchers. that's illegal. That's a JCO violation. And it's wrong. Would you guys want your grandma sitting in the hallway getting treated, medically getting treated? I don't think so. I mean, do any of you want to be treated in a hallway bed? Because there's no rooms. We have outgrown the infrastructure of Stewart. Stewart is not a quaint little fishing town anymore. It's turning into a concrete jungle. So really my concern is we're growing so fast, but we have no doctors coming to this area. Our hospitals are overwhelmed. I mean, you walk into Martin North and there's stretchers just all over the place with patients all in the hallway getting treated. It's like, where's the privacy? It's all HIPAA violation. So I just really ask you guys to consider all of these things that everybody's saying, because it sounds good and great, everything that they've proposed, but again, what's Martin County? What are the citizens that have lived here for 30-plus years gaining from this? Nothing. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, going once, going twice. Any more public comment? Okay, all right, we're moving on. At this time, like I said, no interveners. The applicant has an opportunity for additional comments. Mr. Tyson?
Thanks. For the record again, Toby Oberdorf. Wanted to address the Water Management District issue that keeps popping up in a letter that was issued previously. We actually met with the executive director and his team specifically regarding this, and they do not have an objection associated with the SERP IRL footprint and this particular project. If they did, and if that in fact did continue, it would be reflected in the ERP process. If you're not aware, not only are we getting the approvals from you all, we're also getting a water use as well as the ERP process from the Water Management District. If there is an issue associated with any of that, it would come out in that ERP process. And again, there really is no concern associated with that. I know that we are working with district staff to hopefully get a letter or some kind of thing for y'all before the next time around, as we're going to be moving forward with that. So again, that would be something that would come out in the ERP process.
Mr. Oberdorf, do you have an ERP agreement from the South Florida Water Management District now?
There is an ERP in process. Per state law, you do not have to have your ERP prior to a local government approval.
Okay.
It's in process and it runs concurrently.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I read that staff report from that person at South Florida Water Management District. I also tried to call her, and she's no longer with the district. So why hasn't that been retracted by South Florida Water Management District at this point? Why is that email still out there? Why hasn't something been done about it?
I
It
can't.
seems to be a rogue email, and you can't speak to the person who wrote it.
As much as I'd like to speak for the Water Management District, I can't. And all I can say is that the executive director there, we did meet with, and they do not have an issue with the footprint associated with our project and the SERP IRL footprint.
And if you don't get an ERP from the district, you can't go forward anyhow.
Yes, sir, that is correct. If we do not get the ERP, we cannot move ahead with the project. And the ERP and these conditions associated with SERP and IRL would be predicated in that ERP. Thank you very much.
And, Madam Chair, someone mentioned about water quality monitoring. Is there a problem with doing something like that?
That'd be something I'd take back. I know that Martin County, as far as what was suggested to have Martin County do that water quality monitoring, I don't believe that would be actually part of what we would agree to. DEP does do water quality monitoring in the area there, and specifically they've enhanced the water quality monitoring specifically within the C44 basin, which is what we're looking at, the water body identification. And that is the parameters there for the TMDLs are specifically.
I guess the question would be where So if you're monitoring just C4.
Well, if I can just finish, Jim, I'm sorry. Specifically, those parameters are total phosphorus, total nitrogen, and dissolved oxygen that would need to be monitored. Now, to your question of specifically where, again, that'll be part of a permit negotiation associated with that. We are required ahead of time, and our professional engineers are required to make sure that what we're doing is in compliance with the Water Management District. In other words, we have to show reduction, and that initial reduction has to be in compliance with the current regulations that are associated with nutrient removal.
I guess the question is, the monitoring in would be coming from the C44 upstream, theoretically, and measuring out at the C44, they're both, I mean, the C44 is a terribly impaired water body with numbers that are way outside of the TMDLs currently. So a reduction wouldn't be hard to achieve, and where it's measured is critical to getting some positive performance from this very large SDA. And I'm not sure, without those specifics, it's very supportable to say that you're actually reducing a great number of those nutrients that are going back into it from your golf and agricultural operations. That's the problem with not being really specific.
Well, I appreciate you calling it an STA. That's a great start. First of all, I thank you for that. The reality is that I can't sit here tonight and say that we're going to have a monitoring here, here, and here. That is something that we'll take into consideration, and I think that's a point that's been brought forward. And again, my only trepidation in that would be to assign that to Martin County. I think that needs to be within those bodies that are currently dealing with water quality, whether it be at the state level, DEP, or the Water Management District.
So how often will they monitor ongoing?
Twice a year.
DEP?
Twice a year.
Again, that's a question back to DEP, and the state approved some additional funding for monitoring throughout the entire basin, and I know that there's going to be some compliance requirements for the TMDLs within the BMAPs that are coming forward.
So what you're saying is the state will be monitoring somewhat, and Jim is saying at least twice a year. Is that
That's what they're required to do, yeah.
And again, that's outside of the parameters of what we're doing, but would love to see more monitoring for the state.
Well, water monitoring is easy. I mean, you're going to bring water in from one place and it's going to go back out the other place. So you're taking water when it comes in, you're testing it, and when it goes back out, you test it again. I mean, this was being done on this ranch 50 years ago. When I worked on this ranch 50 years ago, we took water samples when it came in and took water samples when it went out. And it was cleaner when it went out than when it went in. And it wasn't near as sophisticated as what you're doing. So I don't think that doesn't concern me.
I couldn't agree more.
But to Jim's point, and everybody's in this room's point is so concerned about the water quality, and I am too, that just for pennies on the dollar, I mean, it's like somebody said, it'd be really cheap to just put what do they call it, a Kilroy.
I can't agree to that tonight. I appreciate the suggestion.
I understand you can't, but those are things
I sincerely appreciate the suggestion, yes.
Well, Toby can't agree to it, but the applicant could agree to something. And I'm not saying you need to determine tonight what it will be, but I think something should be done where the public is assured that this project is
This is a PUD,
compliant.
so this is a negotiation.
Yes, and again,
We're here
we're not, we can only recommend. We can't enforce anything. So what I'm saying is, tonight, they don't have to agree to anything. We could say, no, we don't recommend that it go to the commission, with an affirmative to the commission, but we don't need to negotiate exactly what it is. I would like to see something, and we can make that one of the conditions, Jim, when we send it up the line. And I've learned a valuable lesson. Since staff just mentions it, they don't really say this is what the LPA would like you to do. I think you need to speak to your commissioner and say, this is what the LPA recommends. I also have a question on the hammocks. I don't know who wants to answer that. Because that was also brought up in public
Lagodium-filled
comment.
hammocks? Or
Pardon me?
The Lagodium-filled hammocks?
Yes.
I'm sorry, say it again, please. I apologize.
There was a question on the hammocks from the public. Could you address them? Could you address that, please?
There's a variety of ways that we quantify upland habitat, and that particular type of hammock is in fact listed by a variety of the agencies as normal habitat. It is not a rare and endangered, and in fact, we had that verified when we went out there with Martin County as well. Martin County verified this is not in a rare and endangered habitat.
You want anything?
No, I mean, often those oak hammocks are coastal hardwood hammocks, and those are endangered, but these are not necessarily.
So the person got their answer. As to a development agreement, Paul, you want to say something, Elise?
You talking about an
Are
agreement,
we,
so I'm
wait,
getting
are we
ready.
done with the applicant and questions?
Well,
We may not be.
the applicant can answer it, or Paul, I thought Paul would just answer it, but anyone could answer my question about a development agreement.
I think the reference is this plan unit development agreement. That would be
That is the reference. There is nothing, we were not going to have something else on top of that.
correct. Yes, sir.
That's it, okay? Which makes sense to me. There was also something about IFAS, the relocation. We had IFAS speak. How is IFAS going to access this, their 20 acres? Is it buried somewhere? Is it going to be on Canner Highway? Or?
Direct, the PUD condition actually requires direct access.
It shows on the map.
Yeah, I know, but people ask, so let's give them an answer. Okay. And then I have something, as far as Bridge Road is concerned, that is on your list for 2045. Good, bad, or indifferent. It'll be 2 lanes in each direction in 2045.
What are you talking about?
Bridge Road. That's what it's on.
Go for
That's what
20
it's
years.
on. Well, that's what it's on, and that's the MPO.
Way to go.
Okay.
Okay, and,
Any other questions for the applicant? 'Cause
well, let me see.
Otherwise, we can state your opinion. at the-
Nope, that's it.
So there were a couple questions about easements and the recommendations for increasing easements on Bridge Road. Is that part of a negotiation? There was one of the comments from one of the reviewers was that they would prefer to have 15 more feet of easement on Bridge Road so that they could do something with utilities on Bridge Road. It was one of the very few comments that staff actually had.
I mean, I believe we're conveying the right-of-way requested.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director. So any request for right-of-way, as my understanding, would be complied with.
Okay. I mean, it just didn't get taken up in the PUD agreement, and it was one of staff's recommendations, but one of the very few ones.
Okay. Any other questions? Do you have any further comments,
I
Mr.
do not.
Waters?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Paul, back to you. Any final comments from staff?
No, thank you.
I have a question for you. When it comes to stormwater on property, doesn't Martin County have a lot of rules and regulations of how to store the stormwater, and that they designed for the 100-year storm?
25.
Absolutely. We have a team, at this level of the master site plan, a review has been compliant with the Public Works reviewers, their team. As part of the future final site plans with respect to the individual phases, we'll get into the civil plans and more details of those requirements, but certainly we exceed the state agencies.
Just wanted to,
So there's a stormwater rule, and
No, I
then
know.
there's Martin County, okay.
I'd also point out that someone has brought up, and there was an email of public comment about a disclosure. There has been a revised disclosure, which my understanding was there was a couple LLCs in which the clarification was given as far as those actual individuals involved in those. So we have reviewed that and are found it in compliance.
So just the wrong disclosure was attached to your agenda. There was an updated one. I emailed the disclosure to all the board members before so they can consider who the parties were and they could determine if they have a conflict. So the board The LPA has received that. The LPA also received the Plan Unit Development Agreement. If the public would like those two things, the draft agenda was released today. Both of those are in there for the public to review.
What's the date for the transmittal to the county commission?
The hearing for all three will be on April 30th.
Madam Chair?
All right, yeah, we can move on. Is that it, Paul, for you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you got it. All right, now we're on to deliberation.
Okay, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
A couple of things. At the last county commission meeting, the commissioners agreed to put on a half-cent sales tax on a referendum for certain properties in Martin County. The headwaters of the St. Lucie and Loxahatchee, I believe it is, Blue Ways. What are the other two?
Palmaro.
Yeah, Palmar and one other, the headwaters.
Yeah.
And so if people are really serious about keeping Martin County without development, that means Martin County has to buy the land. It's as simple as that. If we don't buy the land, it's going to be developed. This is a very good development. But not all developments are good, but they have property rights. And as long as we have property rights, people are going to buy it. So I urge everyone sitting here to go ahead and vote for the sales tax. I believe it'll be $18.5 million per year for 10 years. With $200 million, we can do a lot of buying, especially if we start bonding. As to Christ Fellowship, yeah, that was a pretty bad deal. But if you were paying attention, you would have known it was a bad deal. And that's something that should have never happened. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. So I'm going to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation with,
Hold on, before you do that.
Go ahead.
Anybody else have anything to say?
well, I'll make the motion, then everybody can
Okay,
comment.
then, discussion. Okay.
Okay, with some type of water quality monitoring, maybe to be decided by the applicant and staff between now and April 30th.
All right, can we get a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we're now open up for discussion before we vote.
Yeah.
Jim?
I've disagreed with this proposal from the beginning. I do not support sprawling beyond the urban service boundary. I do not support a PUD agreement including marinas and lack of justification of circulation, of treatment of water on the property. I do not support the rural land use amendment in the first place, but I certainly do not support this. There is an incredible rush to get this moved forward, which concerns me. Canner Highway is a disaster right now, and it's not getting any better. I think that if people presume to say that the Three Lakes buffering is attractive, I don't think so. It's like driving down a ditch. This is selling the soul of Martin County to a recreational industry that is probably not supportable. It seems as though, and I'm not an economist, so I'm going out on a limb, it seems as though this is a very speculative economic revenue review. I am concerned that we can't support this. We certainly don't have the infrastructure to support it, and I don't believe that we've got enough specifics on what it is they are proposing to monitor when it comes to water quality, and frankly, it comes down to water quality from my perspective.
Okay. Anybody else? Any comments?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
I mean, do I like the project? No, I hate the project. I wish that this was going to be like it was when I was a kid. Because I hear all these people talk about, they moved here way back when, and you know, that doesn't cut much mustard with me. People are going to move here, and when you read these comments, somebody made a comment here about build out. I want somebody to define build out. Does build out mean when somebody dies, you get on the waiting list, and somebody dies, and you're in the lottery, so you get to come move in now because that person died, because we're built out and nobody else is coming. So this whole build out thing doesn't wash with me. And as far as the roads, you're right, the roads we're getting crowded. And I think over the last 20 years or so, that's been one of the no-growth people's design. Let's don't build any roads, and let's keep it small, so if it gets crowded enough, nobody will want to move here. Well, I got news for you, that didn't work, because 714's crowded, Bridge Road's crowded, every place is crowded. Had we been planning for growth for the last 20 years, we would have these roads. I leave Palm City and try to get to 95. Every morning, I come in, and every night I go out, and we're finally building a road that when I was a kid, that was a dirt road. When you went over the turnpike, it was a dirt road. We're finally going to get a 4-lane road out to Citrus Boulevard. It ought to be all the way to 95. If we were thinking ahead, we'd go to 95. So is it the developer's fault that we didn't do our roads, build the roads? That's not the developer's fault. And these people built it, they bought this place. And so my deal is, what's the best deal for Martin County?
Guys, I'm going to ask that we listen to our board member. You.
What, the best deal we can get, this is the best deal we're going to get from Martin County. I've seen 20-acre developments. I hate 20-acre developments. That's the biggest waste of a development as you could possibly have. And I know y'all have done a good job out there, and I applaud you for that. But most of them, so we could have more 20-acre developments, more 20-acre lots than what we're getting now. So we're going to have less people. They're going to be on water and sewer, and it's better for the environment. And so is there going to be more traffic with this than there would be if we said do it by right and do it by 20-acre developments? There's not going to be any more traffic. It's the same. It's going to be close to the same. So to me, this is the best deal we can get for Martin County. And I hate it. Like I said, I was on this ranch in the 60s and 70s. I hate that it's going to be developed. I wish there was cows going to be there forever. And there's 1,200 acres of cows. And to me, that's de minimis. It makes it look pretty along the road so people that are tourists can drive by and say, I see a cow. But is it really economically viable? Nah, not really. So that's my thoughts.
Okay. Bob, any thoughts?
The bottom line is, it isn't just $1 million that's coming in for gifts, and you're holding up the carrot, and we all run for the carrot, but it's the tax revenue that's coming into the county, and we are in lean times that are going to get leaner, and I hope I'm wrong, and I was an economist, so I do have a pretty good idea of what goes on, and I think things are going to get tighter, and developments that make sense, that went from 600 units under the original plan, and the owners backed off, and bring it down to 175 units with people that are sustainable. If you have $100 million in the bank and the market's turned down and you have $80 million, your life goes on as normal. If you have $1,000 in the bank and you drop down, it makes a big difference. And there's a lot of people in our community that are living paycheck to paycheck. So anything we can do to boost that revenue in an educated way, I believe makes sense.
Just to remind everybody too, we're not approving a final site plan. We are voting on the PUD and the zoning change on this. So there will be more details to follow. Let the audience know that. So as information comes out, you will be getting more information about the property as it gets further developed. So we just want to make sure remind everybody what we're actually voting on this evening. So any other? Well, we have a second. So do we have any other deliberations, comments? No?
Did anybody second his motion?
Yes, Bob did. Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm opposed.
Any opposed? We have 4 ayes and 1 opposition. Okay? All right, with that being said, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.